Listen this before you judge me. I didn't ruin my twin sister's life in one night. I did it slowly, legally, and with receipts. And the worst part? She helped me every step of the way. I used to joke that being a twin meant never being alone. Turns out, it also means the person who knows you best knows exactly how to destroy you. My twin sister, let's call her Lena, and I were identical in the way that messed with people's heads. Same face. Same voice. Same childhood photos where even our parents had to flip them over to check the names on the back. But personality-wise? Night and day. I was the quiet one. The planner. The one who stayed home, worked 2 jobs, and tried to build something stable after our mom passed. Lena was chaos wrapped in charm. She could walk into a room and own it. People loved her instantly. Trusted her instantly. And she learned early how to use that. Growing up, Lena learned that if she cried loud enough, the blame shifted. If she smiled sweet enough, adults stopped asking questions. I learned that if something went wrong, someone needed to take responsibility, and it was usually me. Still, she was my sister. My twin. I protected her. Defended her. Covered for her. That loyalty cost me everything. When I was 24, I let Lena move into my apartment for a few weeks. She said she was leaving a bad relationship. She showed me bruises. Later I learned they were from a bar fight she started. But at the time, I believed her. Of course I did. Weeks turned into months. That's when things started disappearing. Cash from my drawer. My laptop. My grandmother's ring. Whenever I asked, Lena laughed it off. You're so paranoid. You probably misplaced it. And because she had my face, my voice, my history, people believed her. The real damage came when the police knocked on my door. Apparently, I had been caught on camera shoplifting electronics. I had signed a lease I'd never seen. I had bounced checks at 3 different places. But here's the non-fiction twist, the part that still makes my stomach drop. The officer looked at me and said, "Your sister already admitted everything." I felt relief for exactly 3 seconds. Then he added, "She admitted you convinced her to do it." Lena had gone to the station first. Cried first. Told her story first. And because we were identical, because she'd practiced my signature for years, because she knew how to sound like me down to the hesitation in my voice. They believed her. I didn't go to jail that night. But I lost my job 2 weeks later. My bank froze my accounts. My landlord started eviction paperwork. Lena? She moved out quietly. Left behind an empty room and a note that said, "You always wanted to be me. Now you know what it feels like." That was the moment something inside me cracked. Not snapped. Not exploded. Cracked. Because I realized something terrifying and empowering at the same time. If she could wear my life like a mask, then maybe I could do the same to hers. And unlike Lena, I was patient. I didn't go after Lena right away. That's the thing people don't understand about real revenge. It doesn't start with screaming or smashing things. It starts with silence. With notes. With screenshots. With waiting. For the first month after she vanished, I played the role she'd cast me in. I showed up to meetings with a calm face while my chest felt like it was full of broken glass. I answered emails from creditors. I explained, over and over, that I wasn't a criminal, that I was a victim, that yes, I had a twin. Most people nodded politely and didn't believe me. Every night, though, I worked. I requested security footage from stores. I pulled phone logs. I dug through old messages where Lena joked about borrowing my identity. I learned something uncomfortable about the real world. If you're calm, organized, and persistent, systems eventually listen. Slowly. Reluctantly. But they listen. And Lena was sloppy. She always had been. She reused passwords. She bragged in texts. She sent voice messages when she was emotional. She loved to talk when she thought she was winning. Here's the non-fiction twist that still feels unreal. I found her online by accident. She'd started a small lifestyle channel. Nothing big. Just enough views to feed her ego. Same face as mine, but curated, filters, smiles, soft lighting. In one video, she laughed and said, "People always tell me I remind them of someone they hate." I sat there watching my own face say those words and felt something cold settle behind my eyes. I didn't comment. I didn't message her. I subscribed. Over the next few weeks, I watched carefully. She talked too much. About moving cities. About a crazy sister who was obsessed with her. About how hard it was to start over when someone tries to ruin you. She was rewriting history in public. So I started building mine. I sent anonymous tips to brands she worked with. Nothing dramatic. Just facts. Screenshots. Time stamps. You might want to verify the ID attached to this contract. You should know this face has 2 legal identities attached to it. Then I waited again. The violence part, what YouTube-friendly revenge never shows, is internal. Sleepless nights. Shaking hands. That moment where you want to do something irreversible, and instead you choose to breathe and document. Lena noticed something was wrong before she understood why. Her uploads slowed. Her comments turned cautious. One night, she went live and kept glancing off camera, like she expected someone to be standing there. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Because while she was unraveling online, the legal pieces were finally snapping into place offline. A detective called me back. This time, he sounded different. Focused. Apologetic. Turns out, 2 identical signatures don't hold up well when one comes with years of consistent handwriting samples and the other suddenly appears everywhere like a virus. They reopened the case. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just opened a new folder on my laptop and named it with her name. Because this wasn't about clearing mine anymore. This was about making sure she could never wear my face again without consequences. And the next step? I needed her to admit it. On record. In her own voice. And I knew exactly how to make Lena talk. I didn't message her as myself. That would have been too obvious. Too clean. Lena could smell confrontation like blood in water, and she'd either disappear again or flip the script before I could lock anything down. Instead, I became someone else. A fake email. A fake name. A calm, professional tone. I told her I was a consultant who specialized in online reputation recovery. I said I'd seen her channel, noticed the sudden engagement drop, and thought I could help. She replied in 12 minutes. That's how I knew she was scared. We moved to voice notes after 2 days. She liked hearing herself talk. Always had. And I encouraged it. Asked open-ended questions. Let her ramble. Let her complain. She told me how unfair life was. How people were siding with the wrong twin. How she was tired of being punished for doing what she had to do. One night, around 2 a.m., she finally said it. I mean, I didn't steal her life. I just borrowed it. She never used it right anyway. I replayed that message so many times my phone warned me about storage space. Here's where the violence comes in, not the flashy kind, not the kind YouTube demonetizes instantly. The quiet kind. Psychological. Surgical. I started pushing her. Gently at first. What do you mean by borrowed? Then a little sharper. You sign things in her name, right? Then silence. Long pauses. Breathing on the mic. She cracked like glass under pressure. I had no choice, she snapped in one message. She would have survived. She always survives. That sentence hurt more than anything she'd ever done. Because she was right. I had survived. Every time. And she counted on it. A week later, I suggested a video call. Told her brands like transparency. That admitting mistakes made people sympathetic. She hesitated, but her channel was dying, and Lena without attention is like a fire without oxygen. On the call, she looked tired. Real tired. No filters. Same face as mine, but hollowed out. For a split second, I saw the little girl I shared a room with. Then she smiled. And I remembered everything. I recorded the call. She admitted to using my ID. To signing leases. To letting me take the fall because I needed the reset more than she did. Her words. Calm. Casual. Like she was talking about borrowing a jacket. When the call ended, I sat there shaking. Not with rage. With grief. Because that was the moment I accepted the truth I'd been avoiding since childhood. I didn't lose my sister. I never really had one. The next morning, I forwarded everything. Audio. Video. Transcripts. Timelines. The detective called me back within hours. This time, he didn't apologize. He said, "We're going to need you to be available." I looked at my reflection in the dark laptop screen, same face she'd worn like armor, and whispered something I'd never allowed myself to say before. I'm done protecting her. And somewhere out there, Lena was about to learn what it felt like to have her own voice turned against her. Because the system she'd gamed for years? It finally had teeth. And it was hungry. The knock on her door wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No kicking. Just 3 calm, official taps. Lena told me later, that sound scared her more than anything else ever had. She didn't call me when it happened. Didn't text. Didn't post. Her channel went dark overnight, like someone flipped a switch. I found out through a mutual friend who sent me a single message. Your sister's in trouble. Like, real trouble. I stared at my phone for a long time before setting it face down on the table. This is the part people expect: fireworks. Handcuffs. Justice served hot and loud. But reality is quieter, and way more brutal. Lena wasn't dragged away. She was invited in 4 questions. She walked in confident, convinced she could cry her way out like always. Same smile. Same face. Same act. Except this time, there was a screen in the room. And a voice she didn't expect to hear. Her own. I was told later that when the recording played, when she heard herself say, "She always survives," her expression changed. Not panic. Not anger. Recognition. Like she finally understood she'd gone too far. They showed her the timeline. The overlaps. The moments where 2 identical people were in different places at the same time. The digital trail she'd been too lazy to clean up. Then they showed her my statement. Not emotional. Not vengeful. Just facts. That's what broke her. She asked to speak to me. I said no. That was the only moment of direct cruelty I allowed myself. Because I knew if I heard her voice again, if she cried, or laughed, or tried to twist things, I might fold. I might become the version of myself she'd trained me to be. The forgiving one. The silent one. The one who survives quietly so she can keep winning loudly. Instead, I let the system do what it was designed to do. Lena lost access to everything while the investigation dragged on. Accounts frozen. Sponsorships gone. Friends suddenly busy. Her name, our name, started showing up in places she couldn't delete. The violence came later. Not physical. Psychological. Isolation. She'd built her life on mirrors, reflections, validation, attention. And suddenly there was nothing looking back at her. No comments. No likes. No audience. Just consequences. I heard she started telling people she was sick. That she'd been set up. That I was dangerous. But here's the thing about truth, it doesn't need defending once it's documented. I slept better than I had in years. Not because I was happy. But because for the first time, I wasn't carrying her weight anymore. And Lena? She finally had to carry her own. Alone. The real punishment hadn't even started yet. That came when she realized the one person who shared her face was done sharing her pain. By the time the court dates were scheduled, Lena finally broke her silence. She sent me an email. Not an apology. Not even anger. Just 4 words in the subject line. We need to talk. I didn't respond. That silence did more damage than anything I could have said. Because for the first time in her life, Lena wasn't controlling the narrative. She couldn't charm me. Couldn't guilt me. Couldn't rewrite what had already been logged, archived, and timestamped. I heard things through secondhand channels instead. She'd lost weight. She wasn't sleeping. She kept asking people if I'd said anything about her. The irony wasn't lost on me. For years, she lived comfortably inside my head, rent-free, while I cleaned up her messes. Now I was living inside hers, and she couldn't shut me out. The day of the preliminary hearing, I sat in the back row. She didn't see me at first. When she finally did, her shoulders stiffened like she'd been struck. Same face. Same eyes. But she looked smaller. The prosecutor played one of the recordings. Not the worst one. Not even close. Just enough. Lena's head dropped. Her hands clenched. She didn't cry. That was new. What hurt her most wasn't the threat of punishment, it was exposure. Being seen without filters. Without excuses. Without me absorbing the fallout. She tried one last move. During a recess, she looked straight at me and mouthed, "Please." And something inside me shifted, not with rage, but with clarity. I realized then that this wasn't about destroying her. It was about refusing to be destroyed for her ever again. When the judge spoke about consequences, responsibility, patterns of behavior, Lena stared at the floor like it might open up and swallow her. The world she'd manipulated so easily had finally stopped bending. That night, I went home and packed a box. Old photos. Childhood stuff. Things I'd kept because we're twins, and family is family. I didn't burn them. Didn't tear them up. I donated what I could. Threw out the rest. Not out of spite. Out of release. The real violence, the kind that changes lives, isn't loud. It's final. It's choosing yourself without asking permission. And Lena finally understood something she never expected. I wasn't coming back. Not to save her. Not to soften the landing. She had taken my identity. Now she had to live with her own. And for someone like her? That was the harshest sentence of all.